Look at how light that is. Insane. Titan 7 came through big time. These guys work with Billy Johnson, become very quickly one of my really good friends, and he is going to teach me how to drive this car and ultimately drive both of our cars and we'll see driver versus driver and car versus car. The art of war says that when you find yourself at a fair fight, you've already lost. I'm bringing a switchblade to a fist fight. Billy Johnson has been helping me learn the track at Button Willow before we go there. He's been giving me some private lessons and everything, so that way I can be a better driver, because I can't let my car lose to an RX-8. That is just horrible, and the one thing I will hate hearing for the rest of my life is how it is the superior chassis. With our partnership with Kumho, we are doing something really cool with the tires. And that's really the whole reason we have the car to begin with. And we have some very lightweight tires, wheels, whichever word you guys like using. Oh my God, that's the rear tire, the rear wheel, and that thing is, look at how light that is. So Billy wasn't lying about that. Number one priority was weight. Wow, those are really wild looking. Wow, I did not expect that. That is so cool. You're gonna be able to see that we have inadequate braking, because now these will show you every bit about the brakes, but some beautiful bronze wheels to go on that car. 9.5-inch wide, so we can fit the 255 square on there. These are just about as light as you can get, and those Kumhos are gonna wrap on there perfectly. These aren't exactly the look of a 10th anniversary. They're beautiful. They match the stock tint perfectly.
They're a little bit more bronze than the other ones, or are they just dirty?
Yeah, and I don't know what these are, so I'm not too worried about that, but these are ridiculously light. Actually, let's see how light they are. 220. 203.4. So
you stayed pretty.
Yeah, I actually got down on 199 this weekend. So that's 17 pounds for the rear wheel. 17 pounds for this whole metal that is going to support this vehicle. That is very, very, very impressive, and we will be utilizing this greatly. Now, I will probably have to do some spacers and whatnot, but I think the fronts are perfect, but we have to do a little bit of a spacer. I got all that. That's not going to be a problem, but my God, this car is going to have some very light, unsprung material. With those being the rears, which of course is one of my favorite tires, always the meteor tire, this is the front. And so I want to see what sort of offset and look. These should be bolt on to the car, so we can definitely try this right now. Yeah, so this is a front tire, and those feel even lighter. We figured we'd take off a tire and test this, but this is one of the Kumho tires that we'll be using in the front. It's 227 minus my weight of 203. 24 pounds, so 24 plus 16, that's 40 pounds. So let's compare that to the previous setup. Okay, so 248, 45 pounds basically. So we just shaved 5 pounds off of the whole front wheels, just
one.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, so we shaved 5 pounds off of one corner of the car with just that rim and the Kumho tire.
That's like
very
20 pounds
impressive
altogether, right?
Yeah, that's the weight that needs to react with the shock absorber and the spring. That's not just, cool, I ate less Taco Bell. That is very important weight. So huge thanks to Billy and Titan 7 for making this happen. Time to get them all mounted up and see how this looks. So now with our new lens, we're gonna see how these sort of tracking shots look. But remember, those previous wheels that we had on this car were from a guy who actually autocrossed it. So these are lighter than the existing lightest setup that he had. Oh my God. Look at it from right here. That was really clean. We have a nice little rotor shape. We got a little rotor shape.
Oh, wow.
Nice rotor inspired shape right there. I said it was impossible, and as I went and did it anyway.
Speedflow makes these really, really nice GM adaptation to AN lines. And look how easy, there's 2 O-rings in there. You just kind of, put it in the hole, push a little bit, slide bad boy right in there. And so it won't go past that because I want you to seal, right? Push that in there.
Now that's not the impossible part. Isaiah's about to do something that is both one of the smartest and dumbest things I've ever seen him do, and especially because, it's fuel, whatever, but he's going to modify that fitting to cut out tons of other fittings. So
ORB is pretty much the thread of the AN with no flare to it and O-ring boss right here. So that you just seals with this O-ring. So the fuel pressure regulator has an O-ring in it, so we're going to make this super, super clean setup. And you pull a sensor in there, and it reads all your fuel, like beep, boop, boop. It returns back real nice, clean. out the way.
But he has to cut the AN flare off of that fitting so that it's a proper ORB fitting. He's got an O-ring on a flare. You do not ever do, yeah, please, thank you. Because I don't want anybody else taking this car apart and going, huh, there's an O-ring on a flare, let me take the O-ring off, and then I lose a car to a simple miscommunication.
So that's all the modification you need to do to make this into a ORB thread. And then just be careful with these threads, just kind of lightly thin them up, that way when you go to thread it doesn't cross thread or anything like that.
I mean, it's still at the end of the day kind of janky.
How is that janky? That is the cleanest thing
Is the O-ring sitting on a flat surface?
I mean, once I tighten it, yes.
In my box of fittings, you will find an O-ring fitting. And so in this case, there is a nice flat rim right there that the O-ring can push against and seat. The O-ring is normally supposed to seal from the inner surface to the outer surface, not this flat surface. But that's the only reason I'm contemplating what Isaiah is doing. You'll see that they all can seat against something on the back, so the back is pushing them evenly. The only concern I have with his solution, which works well, it will work, is just that the pointy star part on his setup is touching the O-ring. So the O-ring will seal, like I said, from this outer surface to this inner surface. So the O-ring seals like this way, but I also don't want it doing anything weird this way. Chris is back. Those look amazing. So Billy was the one who actually picked out the wheel widths. And look at that, they are square to square to square. Not front to rear. We don't have any tire poke out, and we definitely don't have them stretched either, so that the sidewall is doing exactly what it's supposed to be. So this is my front tire, this is my rear tire. So you can see, nice and clean. But this is much simpler because they're all together. Here's the old setup, 48.6. There's no tricks. This is completely all by itself. And then we go with our Kumo and Titan 7 setup, 43. So you're talking, but that's more than 5 pounds. 48.6 minus 43, that's 5.6 pounds. And that's on the rears, it saves even more weight.
They fit on the RX-8, right?
Nope. Sorry.
They fit on the RX-8.
We gotta take this one and throw it up there. We gotta see what this looks like. I did not expect Kumos to be this sexy looking. And that's really as much meat as you can get on the front too, because the strut is right behind it. Oh my God. So this is Exta V730, there we are. I love it.
It's crazy. I didn't think I like it either, but
You love it too?
yeah.
Isaiah said it was crazy. He didn't think he'd like it either, but he loves it.
I just noticed that they look like the RX-8 wheels.
Don't pull shit like that on me.
Look at them out there.
No, don't.
Oh,
They're 10
wow.
spoke. No, I have to become my enemy to beat him. No. That is clean. That's not going anywhere. FedEx came in clutch last second and got the new battery for this car. This is an insane battery. The guys at Anti-Gravity, you guys know are friends, but check this out. Oh, look at that. 970 cranking amps. Can you do that with your battery?
You're really strong.
Yeah, I could hold it up this way too. This means no relocating the battery to the back. I mean, you could, but this means much shorter power cables, which means higher voltage all throughout the car.
Can you weigh it?
I already know.
Nothing.
It's not even gonna turn on because it doesn't weigh enough. Okay, we're gonna have to weigh it on our drug weigher. 6 pounds. Insane. We're gonna zero it out right there, so that's 0. And then we're gonna add the weight of the cables. Still even stay on there. Point is, you already saw it's over 10 pounds for just one cable. You need 2 to run them all the way to the back of the car. This is double aught, and while you might think that's overkill, it's not, because when you have really high-end level of electronics, you don't want those electronics to crap out and get low voltage. It ends up being like 12 pounds for each cable to run that properly from the front of the car to the back of the car. So you're talking about 22, 25 pounds to get that minimal voltage drop from the alternator to the battery, and then of course to all of your other stuff that's in the front. You're talking a lot of extra cable. So all that copper, beautiful copper, which I love, gets replaced by a much shorter run. You kill all of that weight. You're not dragging it all through the whole car, and you can leave it all up front. Amazing. I'm very, very pleased with this. This battery is insane. They make a non-HD version. They have the ATX 30, and then they have the ATX 30 HD. The normal one comes with like 800 roughly cranking amps. This is 970, and it's just like has like longer lasting and all that sort of stuff. And it is actually a pound heavier. Battery capacity done. Amazing. It even tells you on here, look at max charging rate 15 amps, which is what our Harbor Freight one does. So that's not a big deal. But you don't want to use traditional chargers on that. You want to use lithium-based charging systems.
I got to introduce you to the OEM plus side of things. And what the best part is, if you're walking by, you don't even notice anything, right? And that's the point, because it's just real OEM looking in there. Just missing one piece for underneath, but I'll get that tomorrow.
And for a single person asking, a simple heat shield will prevent it from, this is one of the coldest things on the face of this earth, but a heat shield will prevent it from even thinking about doing shit. I have much closer on the Corvette, and this is all out of the way, and then you don't even see it when you're in the car. This is phenomenal.
And so we have our fuel in with the filter. Let's see, our fuel out to the engine, our return from the engine, and then our overflow from the surge back to the tank. So we are all good to go. We should never have any fueling issues.
This is kind of like the setup for a street car, and by street car I mean anything under the 4-rotor. Like even the 3-rotor, something where you have a surge tank for that nice like turning slishy sloshy thing, and then OEM tank capacity. That was pretty sick.
Rob decided to leave to go get some interior parts, so what I'm going to do, as a horrible person I am, I'm going to unbox this brand new coil radiator. Still in the plastic. Look at that.
It is brand new, dude. Wow.
It's brand new. I got more miles. And all you FC owners know that this is the best. And I'm now realizing that there's brackets that adapt from this to the chassis. I gotta figure that one out.
So I just got back from my buddy Black Cat Racing Garage, and the dude he refused to like let me pay him for some of these parts, and so we traded some parts, some of the S5s that I had on my car, and this is actually the 10th anniversary of this S4, but he hooked me up big time with all the other parts, and so dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Just pay it forward. The RX-7 community needs more people like you. So check out what he brought. I really wanted the option to have air conditioning on this car, and that's kind of what I went out there for, but he and I traded center bezels, and then it just went downhill from there like most RX-7 owners would. He gave me full panels from his car that do not have any broken tabs. We have the air conditioning condenser, air conditioning pump, all the lines, a lot of extra lines for power steering, a new power steering setup. Mine was all gross. His is super clean. Oh, yeah. He modified it a little bit, but maybe this is one we can run for now. But super clean. Blessed me with his towel.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was not washed.
Even better.
Normally, this is the stuff as all of us as 18-year-olds or younger or older do, is we gut all of this off of the car. Well, first of all, California doesn't like that. Then it starts to get really interesting. So the FC, specifically the 10th anniversary, has front windshield wipers, and so he hooked me up with parts for that. He got me the proper center console piece. So instead of the weird ass like LEDs that ours has, this one has fog light button, and of course the overheat for the cat. Backup vents, because the vents we had to swap. This is a rubber piece we were missing for the center shifter. And then here's the metal piece, and then here's the piece that covers the parking brake. Yeah, thank you. He got me this piece we had all broken tabs on ours, the ball chiller, these panels which we were missing, this panel with no broken clips. This piece is broken on ours, so we can replace that. And then here is where I'm really, really happy. So this is different.
Whoa.
Mine had that sticking out, remember? And so he gave me spare parts for this with that other vent. Super clean. There's only one crack in it, but we can super glue that together. Everything else are on it. And then he gave me the matching shifter. So I traded him our shifters. This is what I'm super happy about. He traded me a lot of these parts for this. This is the original shifter for the car, the Momo shifter. And it's... Hi, Rob. You want to get a 1080 running quickly? I do, thank you. Too fucking bad. We got all of the pieces meant for this car. This combo is what I'm particularly excited about. He donated those from his car to mine. I paid for the parts of it, but he really wanted me to have them. So I'm so thankful, and we can make this car more period correct and more complete.
This is the OEM battery tray, and we have actually a really nice battery box coming in for this thing, but we need somewhere right now this second. And we have this thing, let's see if it fits, and it fits right in there. OEM location, if you move these wires out the way a little bit, a little locating pin right there, and then look at that. Boom, brand new. Look at that, that's
going anywhere?
it's not going anywhere.
Oh my God.
That's it right there.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculously perfect.
These things are so clean. I even do a little nice 30 degrees, not even 45.
That is amazing.
Look how easy that is.
I'm not trying to like
let's not suck the dick if
exactly,
it goes too hard.
I'm not trying to do that, but it's like, it is really, like everything we keep trying to make better. We're going to take the work that we've learned on this car, take it to the other cars, because we've stepped up a level of this OEM++ look for sure.
So Rob has a habit of like subconsciously not realizing my ideas when I tell him, and then somebody else tells him, he's like, oh, that's a great idea. These little things, you know, the fuel comes in and then splashes around. And when we're doing the forwarder stuff, the OEM ones on, what is it, the bottom ones, I think on the FD engine, they're at an angle, like a 45-degree angle, so the fuel would hit here and then splash this way towards the port. So when we're doing the forwarder stuff, I was like, hey, should we put these back in or make some of these? He's like, no. And I was like, okay. Somebody else told me, hey, we use these, and he's like, oh, that's a great idea. But for what we're doing right here, this is not necessary, so these guys are just, I was about to throw them back, but some of them might want to keep them, never mind. Oh, yeah. You always got to give them a little licking. The fuel system is complete. Look how clean this is. The speed flow fittings look so nice. Everything looks all OEM in place. Fuel pressure regulator, all the sensors. Just bitchin'.
No lie, I'm a little intimidated by the quality of work Isaiah has done on this. I'm not going to break my wrist jerking him off. It is really well done. And so the problem is not that I want his compliments. I don't want his criticisms. So I have to make sure I make the wiring clean, and it looks even less detectable than how well he did the whole fuel system. I got a couple problems though. One is that the wiring is right in the center of everything, but the thing working for me is that he's used to seeing all this crap. So I will be able to gut a lot of this, turn a lot of stock wiring into kind of more of a new harness, clean up shit there. But one of the funniest things ever is, look at this. That's the stock battery tray. He put it in there partially to be funny, partially because I held back the guys that are making the battery tray for this, and that'll be in here soon. But look, that's the stock battery tray. If we had a sound system, we could run two of these exactly half, less than half of the size of the stock battery. So it's a little taller. Neat thing about these batteries, and I don't think I'm going to use this fact, but we can turn it on its side. These don't have they literally defy gravity, and you can actually run these batteries upside down, sideways.
That's where the name comes from.
I bet that's probably where the name comes from.
What?
Anti-gravity. Right now, I'm going to try to run appropriate sized wires from here for all the ground stuff, and then from here to the alternator and to the starter and to the rest of the car. I'm trying to make the core of the power wires somewhere pretty. Many of you guys have seen in the past, one of our best tricks, shout out to my buddy James for this, is using basically welding wire. This is very high strand count wire for the core of our engine. It means lower voltage drop. It's just a really nice thing, but I do not have this size, which is 1 gauge, not 1/0. This is 1/0 gauge. You would make a big mistake confusing the two. This is 2 gauge, this is 1 gauge, and then this is 1/0. And then I've got somewhere over on the other table 2/0, which is even bigger than that. And so it goes the other way too. This is actually 8 gauge, and this is 4. So man, there you go. I happen to have it all right there, except for 6. So 8, 4, 2, 1, 0, 1/0, and then 00 over there. What I'm going to probably do is use the 1 gauge, this wire, which is really flexible, really, kind of out of the way. 1 gauge can hold up to, I think, 130 amps before it starts to increase in temperature noticeably. My goal is always to have it where the core of the car cannot exceed like 140 degrees or so. Why do that to yourself? And the worst part is your fuel pumps, your ignition all benefit from having the highest amount of voltage in the car. So why would you have your alternator kicking out 14.6 volts and then your fuel pump's getting 11? Because you chose to use way too thin a wire. That's just dumb, because now you've lost ability of the pumps. The pumps are very, very, very voltage dependent. So you don't give your fuel pumps less than the system's capable of giving. So hence my obsession with thicker wire. This is super epic. And no, I am not over exaggerating my emotions. I genuinely love this stuff. Otherwise I wouldn't keep going back to my favorite company, Garrett. This is a test unit. The guys at Garrett, actually, particularly Tim, I love you so much, went out of their way to pick up a unit. Basically, I'm sure it was on some sort of engine dyno or whatnot, because this is so new that we are using things that aren't even out to the public yet. So this is a T4 flange. Nothing fancy about that, right? That's what we used on the 3-rotor to make the original 1,000 horsepower, but on a 2-rotor needs their own little pulses. This is fully divided all the way through the whole inside. It's a 1.06, but what it's for is the hot topic. This is a G40-900. I argue that this is probably the most ideal turbo in Garrett's entire lineup, and possibly all other lineups, for a rotary engine. We are going to put those claims to the test. You know I'm going to shove as much air as we can through it. Insane. Oh my God. This isn't your typical G35, which in fact it's a slightly larger frame than the G35, so keep that in mind. But this compressor is basically they're estimating up to 900 horsepower on a piston engine, which means about 7 and change on a rotary. But if you look at the compressor map for the G40-900, you will see that at approximately 14 pounds of boost, which is on their thing, basically pressure ratio of 2, this thing has 80% efficiency. That means that 80% of its work is turning into boost, not into excess heat. On this side as well, for rotaries, love a bigger exhaust wheel. So this turbine is much larger than the G35, so you're gonna have much more efficiency, and because it is the G series, you're gonna breathe low and high more efficiently than you ever have. So this compressor is not the same as the G35-900. It's a different compressor wheel. They have two different 900s, just keep that in mind. This one's insanely efficient at lower boost levels. So that's where this thing's going to make rotary sing beautifully, maybe at that 350 horsepower mark. Today on Instagram, they showed that they have 6 different T4 housings for this side of it. So you have both sides. We can fine tune it. We're gonna be on this kind of stockish street port, slight porting on the exhaust and intake. Oh my God, this thing should be a track monster. Even in Garrett's older lineup, Series 2 on the GTX and all that, we're talking 72%, 74% efficiency. So on some of them, you're gaining up to 10% efficiency. So that means 10% more of your work is turning into boost, not heat. And it seems cool. Okay, you know, you have an intercooler to take that heat off. You know what that heat is? Wasted energy. You just worked so hard holding the engine back to generate this pressure, right? And then more of that pressure turns into heat, and then you're like, okay, cool, I got a really big intercooler to handle it. You've just wasted all that effort. So the colder the turbo is producing the air, the more your energy is staying in the system until it gets out that exhaust or out the wheels. So that's, oh my God, amazing. So I suspect we will see this car boost curve be very linear, power curve be very linear, torque just up and on early on. And that is something that will be amazing for the track, for the street, even with a possible high flow, making tons of horsepower.
So with this beautiful last line is the conclusion of the fuel system. Everything is in place. Fuel lines are done. Fuel pressure regulator is done. Hard lines are done. Everything underneath the car is done. All these lines in here are actually done. We just got to put the hanger assembly in there and hook those lines up, which are, you know, just push on. And it is completely done. So look at how nice this actually all comes together. It is truly beautiful. All beautiful from start to beginning. This is the power to this over here. This is actually the controller to the pumps inside. Real nice. And then at the end of the day, you just delete it.
Yeah, all that. I ruined the shot, but I found it funny. Yeah, this is utterly beautiful. The combination of Fuel Lab setup and all of the speed flow fittings. I mean, this is something that I would come see from another shop. Like this is starting to get into like actually SEMA worthy, not just okay, cool, Rob, you did something noteworthy, but actually like clean. You're never gonna see it. You're never gonna hear it. It's amazing, and it's gonna flow enough for easily 700 horsepower. It solves all of the fuel problems. Low amps, no sloshing. This is amazing. Tons of fuel tank. We still have the fuel level sensor. I don't have to run massive power lines anymore. This is beautiful. This is the sort of stuff that just makes it just that little bit more OEM. Especially with all the airflow and not having to try and cut and re-weld and do weird shit to this poor car more than we already are.
Now it's time to put the head and manifold on. They hit the downpipe with a hammer or something. This thing really has some abuse. I probably filed that edge down. They really were testing on this thing.
Since I'm that guy that is the talker, and all I say is the worker, this isn't fair. I get the cool like scene points moment of putting the turbo in, which I do really love, but I just want to point out Isaiah did all the hard work. And so I was overdoing wiring, but I want to see this so badly. So this is, like I said, this is the G40. Joel would have hit and rested the... I didn't know you can't do that. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves that Joel does is he'll start trying spinning the blades while we're right here at this moment. It's like grinding.
When the fuck did I do that?
All the time. Yeah.
Stop.
There. Ooh. That's
Man, that
big.
thing's huge.
It's huge. And it's small at the same time.
It needs to stay like this. Let me show you guys the secret sauce. Ooh, they're not ready for this. This is going to be utilized. If anyone knows where to get like this Turbo 2 sticker, or if anybody has this little Turbo 2 stickers.
Yeah, if they have a cleaner one of these.
Or yeah, honestly, if you have a cleaner one of these, please reach out to me or him because we absolutely need it.
Yes, so what you are seeing is correct, guys. We are actually going to run the stock top mount intercooler. It's grossly undersized for what it is. You can even see just the piping differences. Normally we're expanding from the turbo, but A, this thing produces such cold air that we're hoping that we minimize the need for this. B, it's just sick. It's just absolutely sick. We are going to be doing, because we're not completely insane, is we're going to be measuring the temperature out of the turbo, aka the temperature into the intercooler, and then of course the temperature past that, so we can see how insane.
Is it me, or does the turbo have that like clean SpongeBob bubbly? Like, you remember when he's all proper SpongeBob?
Yeah.
It has that like bubbly look to it.
It's this.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what it is. We're so used to this size compressor on a small frame turbo. This is a medium frame turbo. So keep that in mind if you guys are considering the G40. The G40 is the smallest medium frame turbo, so it's really like the G42. But the performance speaks for itself. So with all of the cars in here actually running, the 3-rotor, the Rotary Corvette, the 4-rotor, if I just put the engine back into it, it's very weird. But that means that all of our spare parts are actually taken up, because I love cannibalizing from one car to the other, and that includes wiring harnesses, because as you all know, they are not fun to make. So in this case, I realized I don't have an ignition harness for any spare cars. The 4-rotor's old one is in the 3-rotor. The 3-rotor doesn't need another one. The Rotary Corvette has my actual 2-rotor one, and so I'm now forced to make this. Now, because I've been showing you guys all of this mil-spec wiring stuff, I have to do this one nice. It's just now ingrained in me. I got room to improve my harnesses anyway, so might as well learn and improve. The sad part is that makes this a very expensive harness for the cheapest car in the shop, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna beat the shit out of this car because we're putting just such amazing stuff into it. The ignition harness is gonna look so small compared to what you see on all my other cars.
Look at that gap. I could fit through there. That is a gap I have to fill in. Just I gotta work my magic here.
All the guys in town follow you. All the guys in town follow you. All the guys in town follow you.
And with this car being old as shit, look at how the exhaust hangers are. This used to be rubber, but this thing has no rubber in it. But
How do you know what a rubber looks like?
no, everyone's gonna ignore my perfectly made shot right there. But we have some new rubber for this guy. But not that I know what rubber looks like, you know. I mean,
Look at how small it is. That's the wire going from the computer and the power.
I bet you heard that before.
you decided to be the one saying it for once.
Look at that. That turned out pretty clean. Enough that I could throw it. But I have to wait for Isaiah because I have no idea how long this is, where I need to put this, and just waiting on him. Everything else I'm doing is just waiting on him.
Super tuck, bro. Super tuck, bro. Nah, cuz we don't cap over here on this side, bro. It's all facts, no caps.
All cap.
No, all facts, no printer, bro.
That is awesome.
Look at that.
I need to hear the Isaiah scream through it. I need to hear it. That was your full yelling? That was...
No, that was just a tip, okay? I don't know when I'm in there, it sounds like I'm the one doing the moaning.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Come on.
Like the cat does not look impressed with me. Like, look at the cat. Look at the cat. The cat does not look impressed with me.
That's not the first girl you've disappointed.
Exactly. That was your breakup in the tune.
My tune sucks that bad.
Oh wow, that is actually really quiet. You got astigmatism. You can't see the glare out of this gold.
I can see that gold.
Oh, that was
I'm gonna deposit that at, like,
from there. Who needs a positioner when you're that good? We're gonna go right there.
Oh wow, yeah, you're way high.
All right.
I may have lucked out a little bit. This is that Hall effect sensor. Basically, it detects whether or not there's metal in front of it. You can see it's got a magnet inside of it, and so it watches as metal passes by. Well, what I was telling you guys earlier is that these little clips in this metal, that's steel, I can certainly try and mount this near this and see if I can catch these four things as they come by. I don't know if I will. I feel like there's a good chance because they get closer, and they may result in a spike in the graph. And then we've got some nearby mounting places, particularly this one right here, where we could, you know, take this little piece of metal, have it go to right here, run this up through the shifter hole, not our high level stuff, but a homemade little drive shaft speed sensor. This is the water pump for those that aren't familiar. This is a mechanical water pump, and also a penile shaped thing. But there's what you see on the front of the engine. And we're gonna be removing all of this and actually upgrading. Yeah, you can see the other side. Ew, that is gross. We're gonna be removing all this and putting a plate right there and using the Davies Craig water pump to basically to be this. And the reason why is this thing, for me, one of the greatest things, when you turn off the car, these will still run the fans, allow you to basically cool the car down instead of letting it heat soak. They smell like weed. Hey, you know what? The seasonal workers for Amazon, you guys show up in your own vehicles. I don't care. One way or another, it got here. And so these are the wheel spacers. And normally, you and I would be groaning like, come on. But because of how light the wheels are and the fact that I do have extended studs, these will work really well. And I made sure I got ones that actually had hub-centric. Unlike the 3-rotors ones, just perfect spacing. But that's not what I really wanted to show you guys. Over here, this is probably the best representation of how my brain actually works. Chaos. The next best representation is the two island boys. These are my two brain cells. Right now, what I'm doing is keeping this simple. You buy a little $30 label printer. I'm putting them on the relays, so you could mix this up. But I have my ECU circuit, I have my ignition circuit, my fuel, one of my fuel pumps, my other fuel pump, and then like miscellaneous oxygen sensor, other things like that. I also have one more fuse. These are all 5 fuses going to 5 relays, but this allows you to have tons of extra fuses. They're just not relayed. I do have one more that's going to go on here, and that is going to be the fuse for the water pump. So that way I know the water pump's getting quality power as well, because this is upgraded now to 2-gauge wire, so we can run 95 amps consistently through this within spec. So I don't think we're going to run 95 amps, but the ECU also includes the injectors, so that's 10, drive-by-wire, maybe even 10 to 12 amps at peak. Ignition can go peak up to 30. I've blown one of these before. Fuel pump 1 and fuel pump 2, this should be a combined total of 20. Oxygen sensor and any other small miscellaneous things, 2, 3, whatever. And then the water pump is another 10. So you're talking 10, 20, 30, plus 30, that's 60, 70. 95 amps doesn't sound that crazy now, does it? So Isaiah's trying to tip into my world. He's got a little bit to learn. This shows you that side compared to this side. Shows you that it is not even close to level.
Oh, is it not?
No, scrapes deeply into that one. Doesn't touch this one. So
That's okay. That's about yay though.
no, we don't do about yay on timing. Timing wheels, we do not about yay.
This isn't the timing wheel.
It is. If this for any reason starts jiggling,
How does that look like a wheel?
the sensor's right there for the wheel. If this thing moves, I lose a signal.
That's not the timing wheel.
Give me the calipers. He was gonna do this.
This is pretty accurate, okay?
0.377. What we're gonna do is square this up a little bit more. This is one of my medium longer end mills, so it will chatter a little bit more, especially on this machine. But we've now calibrated this to the correct spot, and we know that we have to go how many thousandths of an inch?
I press 0.
377 basically.
Wow, that's timing, dude. That's
Yeah, I fucked it up.
You got to recheck now. It
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah, it's all bent. Yeah, 377 thinks it's the same. I'm gonna go one full turn, so that's 1/10 of an inch down. And then we have to do a second full turn, so that is 0.2. And we have to go to 377, so we're gonna do another one, 0.3, and then 77 from here. So 88 plus 77,
That's Disney 365 shit.
165. So what that means is that we're gonna go past 100. So we're at 100, and then we go all the way down to 65. That's 0.377, and that is a lot of meat, as you'd expect. Let's compare it to the Sharpie.
How
Yeah, let's-
accurate?
Let's compare it to how sharp it is.
You're gonna be amazed right now.
Okay, let's see.
It's pretty close.
Which
no?
part of it? He went kind of vertical. on that.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
so the top of the Sharpie is where I wouldn't touch the Sharpie. Look at, see it? Come on, guys. That is accurate right there.
That's not bad, but it's not good either. It's just not bad.
That is literally where I would have went to.
Had you gone 1/10 of an inch or a little bit more, this thing would have now been loose. is obviously-
Had.
Well, one side would have been loose, one side would have been too tight.
Well, good thing I professional stepped in.
Yeah, because this is something so critical, we're actually going to do the same type of milling. We're going to basically treat it like a CNC machine and always be climbing or always be conventional milling. Whichever side of the hurricane we're going to be hitting, we're always hitting the same side. For simplicity's sake, we'll probably just do climb milling. So we'll always be staying on this side of the tool, basically going clockwise as we touch it. And we're not going to go more than half of the tool thickness in. Purposely went around the circles more. This will sit on here like that, and that is flat. Very smooth. So we're gonna have to deal with some things with the actual wheels because this is in the way of some things. This part can go on and be good, so we can put the stock part back on with our upgraded trigger wheel setup. Unfortunately, that inner ring, which they did specify on the Amazon listing, is not my inner ring, so we're off a little bit. I hope that this one fits inside of the tire. It should actually. Maybe the tire will help kind of center the ring.
Oh, you okay?
Okay, the ring works well for the tire. It's got like a pinky's width, so 10 millimeters as it was touching before, so we're close. But this is how you fit the maximum amount of rubber. It's not so close that like on a tight turn, it's gonna rub. It's got enough space to be safe. With this now, we're gonna take this wheel hub off and push out those old studs and put in new ones. This one already has a missing lug bolt, and these are the ones I bought years ago for the 3-rotor to have a little bit more meat. With the spacers I had there and I never used them, this would potentially extend that more than enough. These straight up do not make it through the rim, and these certainly would. I'm a little worried that there's no angle to spin this to get, maybe there's be something like that, but something where to get them through here. Nope. Okay, I was hoping we can at least get them off with this still on, but we have no way of doing that. And that means there's a bearing between here and here that we're now gonna have to press this piece out. Oh, that's not fun. Look at this. My favorite little guy. This is the HKS super sequential blow-off valve. It's obviously old. I'm gonna tear it apart, make sure all the diaphragms and everything are good, but look at that. The center part pulls back first, and then the whole thing pulls back on vacuum. We'll come back to this. We're actually gonna start working on the RX-8 now. Isaiah just asked, how does this work and why do I have such a hard on about it? And it's sequential. You can actually see the word sequential. And that's the SQ blow-off valve. This is super, like, not gimmicky, but it's just part of the noise. Is you see how this ring out here moves compared to the little red torpedo, the red rocket? What happens is the little red rocket pulls back under small changes, and so you'll have air bleed out the middle there, and you get the high-pitched, and then when it has to do a massive blow-off, boom, it pulls that open, air rushes out from here, and so that's the sequential is the little one opens up first, and so you get this obnoxious, beautiful 1990s.
Can we tell about how some people in the shop don't know what turbo
Yeah, so
surge is?
Joel asked, so Rob, is that where the comes from? And then he just stared at me blankly.
A serious question, by the way.
It was a serious question. And then he laughed like, no, I know. But tell somebody else. So
Oh, dude, the card just corrupted.
for those of you that don't know, one of the things that you may hear this car do is actually do what's called compressor surge. That's where the air can't get out of the blow-off valve quick enough, and so that pipe is filled with air. The turbo can't spin as much, and so the air actually goes out the front of the turbo. It's like, and that's what you hear, that. And so that's not good because the turbo's going 100,000 RPM down, 100,000. It's like it's fighting this air that now has to come back out of the front of the cover. And actually, you'll see that older turbos just had just the compressor wheel. Well, now they have anti-surge shroud, so the air can kind of come out and go back in, and it minimizes that effect more. We may not hear the surging because of this compressor anti-surge in the front, or we may because it's such a good turbo that it can't get all of that sweet, sweet air out of this small of a hole when the pedal is let off. It is a full shop, which I love moments like that. I get so jazzed when everybody's all doing crazy stuff all together, but I just reconditioned this that Gio gave me. Look at that HKS. It's definitely a genuine one. It'll move some air, and I mean that literally some, but it'll sound really, really wild doing it. I am super excited for this. This has been a formula I've been doing on each of the cars now, and I've taken it a step further. You can see, like I said earlier, all these are labeled, but then I also have a bonus circuit for the water pump, and most of these actually do need 30s. 2 of them need less, but I'm really proud of this because it's super clean. There's no data in here, so you don't have to worry about crosstalk or anything really. It's just all power. 2 gauge coming in, so you got that solid 90-some amps. And then I actually put just a piece of, not DR25, but normal heat shrink to hide some of the divisions. And this is finally the moment where I can just close this up. Every wire tested out fine. Any circuit that needs like hardcore 30 amps is actually split into 2 wires on here, which basically meets the requirement for amperage going through these pins. So I have it all pinned out, tested out. So all I do is run the 2 gauge to this and then pin the rest of the car to this. And my heart of all of what matters the most to the car stays safe.
Let's cut this guy out. this car didn't come with radiator brackets. I guess you can't really find anything for these. All the people that I've asked nearby don't have radiator brackets. So I just bought some aluminum L-beam and just making my own brackets. Don't ever try to recreate these radiator brackets. I try to be a nice guy and try to make it super simple and just get L-beam and okay, whatever, call it a day. No. And so my only solution to that is, because I'm getting annoyed, is now I just weld. And it's going to be welded on there, and that's going to be it. And that's, yeah. I was trying to avoid this because this was going to take more time, and I'm spending more of my time. The stupidest thing that should be simple always ends up being more complicated. You just should have done complicated from the start.
So I've got that entire run. You can see a little hint of it right here. I made it accidentally too long, on purpose too long. Goes all the way to both fuel pumps. Each line goes to the fuel pump, and then that third line controls the pump's low to high, 0 to 100. I gotta have that connect into this connector here. So they go all the way up to here, and that's exactly where I want them. There's the mountain at Sana. You know, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna drive sideways on this mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna drive it in a BRZ.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys probably already bored, but it's all about cars.
What happened? Oh. Okay. I know they're behind schedule.
We're actually gonna try this out. We're gonna take a step down from 20 to 16. And we're gonna see how this goes. But we're going to throw back to the little turbo pump. I took off my 20 ANs that I had on here, and we're going down to 16. They're a decent amount smaller. Just gonna weld these guys onto here. This is a little turbo looking thing, and we're gonna mount this thing on. See if they have unions tomorrow, and have this thing be held into place. If we do, that'd be very trick, and I'd be really happy because I don't have to make any weird hoses. Once the radiator went in there, all that room suddenly left. It was wild.
On over here.
You had to come over while I'm learning something new. This is some insane stuff my brother got me on, and it's fuel safe epoxy, and it is just insane. I'm trying to do 2 parts of one type to 1 part of the other, but you have to have the cap cut first. A little bit of it in there. The clear stuff is very clear, so it looks like it's mixed, but it's actually sitting on top of it. I've not seen epoxy like this ever before. We got 30 minutes of working time and then 24 hours to cure. I am trying to seal these wires in this hole right here.
Well, she doesn't know that I piston there.
Oh, she has no shame.
Is it good?
So this is the least sketchy thing I've ever done with the press. It's still sketchy because I gotta keep it real. But we're using multiple sockets just to get the right height. But we have to basically replace the bearing. Hop this piece out through the wheel bearing. Hopefully keep the wheel bearing intact. Otherwise, well, Chris is on his way to Monster Tricks for other pieces. We might have to add to that order. I've never pulled a bearing out with intent to keep it. Okay, nice and uneventful. This is how I like doing bearings. You should see this at some point drop down. There we go. So many people don't realize that if it binds up, something is wrong. Take this away and, oh, there we are. So now we get to the fun new adventure that we do not have any experience with, and that is wheel stud, lug nut bolts. I do want to see if I can just hit this and see if it'll pop out. One of the things you have to remember is this is hub-centric slash squared to the wheel. Like, you do not want to mess with this stuff and bend this plate at all or gall this up. That's your life. So what I'm doing is trying to get as close to this. We are not reusing these, so I don't care about the tip of this. It's definitely responding.
Yeah, it's coming out. I see it.
There we go. No damage to anything else. That is way easier than I expected it. Pretty straightforward. That's the press fit section right there. Tons of surface area, so that way it can certainly hold the torque of whatever you're gonna do wrong with your ugga-duggos. That's gonna go through like this 3/4 inch socket. Lets us get all the way around that, not interfere, and then we can push straight down onto that. You do see it going in. So that's pretty much it. Square, clean, no sign of something that's gonna get myself killed. You can see that the threads made it all the way to the end of this. This is actually really exciting because, as you guys may have seen, I bought the car with one of these missing. So not only are we making this stronger and modern, cleaned up, make sure the bolts aren't, stressed. We actually have all 5. Gotta count your blessings, but look at that. I'm going to have enough of this Valvoline's full synthetic grease, so we're definitely cleaning out the crap, cruddy stuff that was in there. Sure, it would have worked fine, but again, when there's better solutions, I use this stuff on all of my bearings on the 4-rotor. Looking good.
My man.
Okay, so give it that last little bit. Back it up. Obviously, if it doesn't rotate, we've got problems. I was kidding.
You really got us there.
I got you guys. You guys both were like, oh shit, this is one last shot before it's all over. That's the difference.
You versus the guy she told you not to worry about?
That's the superior chassis versus
This is me. This is the RX-8 guy. There we go. There's my rear driver's side wheel as well. Both completely uneventful, which normally is not the case when you're using a hydraulic press. I'm going to do a cool little trick on this for measuring these bolt holes almost exactly. This set is like $50 on Amazon, and each one of these is 1/1000th larger. The set comes with all the way to like a whole bunch of small ones. But what you do is you just find it like one that almost gets in there where it's not going to move around much at all. You don't want to damage the hole, or in this case the threads. But you just get it where it just kind of sits in there nice and clean. And then when you measure it, you take the calipers and you measure the outside of each of these, and you take the half the distance of this, half the distance of this, it's a known distance, half the distance of this, half the distance of this, so on until you triangulate all those. And you can just put these points into CAD, and then it'll automatically start adjusting the angle once it realizes, okay, you know what, if you measure this to this, this to this, and then this to this, it can only be this shape. So real nice little way of CAD or 3D scanning these parts almost more accurately than a scanning machine can do. So that way I can make a little dick plate that covers all of this and have coolant go in through here and then go through there into the engine. Same thing Isaiah needs for here is a plate that covers this, same triangulated shape. I have to estimate this one, but that becomes kind of easy because this whole circle is equal distance from all these, so I can just make a circle until it fits that. I asked him to weld this shut. This is the bypass that the stock thermostat will allow coolant to go through until the engine is heated up. Coolant can only go into the engine through this side, and it can only go out the engine out here. This would allow it to short circuit the system, and ultimately, if you left this open and did not run a thermostat, you would probably overheat your engine, especially on a track day, because none of it's going to actually make it through to the radiator. It'll slowly warm up, but it will not pass the heat outside of the block. So that was the piece we just cut out, and of course that's what it looked like in the three-dimensional world. If you guys want to see what it started out as, so look at that chaos. So I measured between all these different bolts and then let the program figure out the triangulation between all of them. without over constraining it. But then I just added these curves as I kind of looked like Peppa Pig or a penis. So that's how I made that piece. Turned it into that. That turned into this. I shifted around just so that way it would fit the space on the piece of metal. So for example, with this piece, which is what we're about to do, I then go and drill in these little holes right here, clean off the face of it, clean out the corners of these holes so they don't cut you, mill all the way around this, leaving these little tabs, and then finally clean up this outer edge. Press this button and we'll see what happens. We are. It's unfortunate I wasted a lot of material, but I did not want them crashing into each other. I'm right on a time budget. But there's the top piece, there's the penis cover. You guys ever play Operation? That's exactly what this is. You touch the edge, it's over. Gently take this out. I've now cleaned the backside of them up a little bit, got the edges taken down. So let's see how they fit. I hope they fit well, because they're just based off the numbers I have measured. And that is pretty damn solid.
Nice cock.
I don't like to brag. It's always a tight fit though. Boom. Look at that.
So now I have this thing in here, and that thing's not going anywhere. This is a union, so instead of making an actual mount for this, I'm actually just gonna have the unions hold it in place, and it's gonna be pretty tricky.
We're kind of accidentally pulling out all the stops on this one. It was supposed to be like a low level, okay, check yourself before you wreck yourself, but you know, everybody else wants to help and make this thing actually really fast. So the guys from Reaction, which helped us out on the 3-rotor setup, brought out a little nice, perfect like way of starting to do suspension right on this car. And so we're going to replace the 15, 20-year-old type, which has been wonderful. That's worked well for a lot of people on FCC platform, but technology has come a long, long way. Ooh. Now those are sexy. So this is what, one of the rears? Front? Ooh. Oh, you have your own? Oh, that's, wait, so we can get rid of that one.
Yeah.
Sick.
Oh, Isaiah.
Oh, nice.
That one has like the wrong bolt holes and everything. So much cleaner. It doesn't have the studs in it, none of this. The ones that are on here right now have no ability to do really this and this. You can adjust the heights, but you kind of get wherever you're at with the spring is wherever you're at. And I know a lot of you guys, when you saw me adjusting preload on the 3-rotor, didn't understand why I was doing it. I tried to explain it, and suspension is just kind of an overwhelming thing. But when you have a really soft spring, you actually have to get things kind of in line, get the right height, because once the spring settles, once you get to the ride height, you can't just keep adjusting this. You have to work with the spring to make sure that you're in the center of the travel. Right now, this shock, well, strut, is fully open. The spring is opening all the way. So if you were to put this in the car and it was sitting just like this, you have no rebound. It can't go any further this way. So what you're trying to do is get it into the point of ride height on the shock, so that way you have travel both ways. Or unless you really want not to have travel one way, do that too. But really, that's all I'm doing is trying to guess where with the spring, where on the shock it's going to travel. Here we are with the rears, which truly couldn't have come at a more perfect time. We have the whole rear thing apart. Reaction set us up with some 6K springs on both sides. Actually pretty decent springs. They'll be softer, so I won't hate my life, but definitely competent at the track. We are spoiling this car in the ways that I dreamed I could as a younger kid with mine. And we have this. Now this is something that I foolishly spent extra money on because I got one from my buddy. It had a crack and it was missing a mounting tab. And I just really want this center of the car to be just solid. It's the right texture. It doesn't have the Series 5 where it's sticking out like this. Wow. It's got this whole plate that's not broken off. All brand new. So if we spend that sort of money on this car, we have to do the same to the big boys. And this is part of something really sick. So this is going to kind of look a little confusing.
Snap.
Yeah. This is way more expensive. This is whatever, 500 bucks? I will tell you guys right now, if you need this front part, hit me up or hit somebody up. I bought all of this just for this part. We've got something even cooler, is that one of my buddies actually sent me a 3D printed mount for the FuelTech. Look at that. So I want to give a huge shout out Motorsports 3D. The workmanship on this is amazing. Something that drove me nuts on my FD, this is only $4, but sometimes it's the small things. Look at this, it's the whole shifter isolation boots. This bottom one, this big one right here, always tears. One of the most fragile parts of the entire car. I didn't realize that these, you could get them. And I actually ended up buying Landon's LBR's metal ones, and so I may run those to not damage these. I'm not sure, but these are like $40 from Monster Trick. Sometimes it's just those smaller things in life that just really make the build clean. These are not OEM, but they are OEM-ish for this car because the carpet is so good. Everybody here was making fun of me of whether or not I was going to end up making everybody take their shoes off to sit in the car. And these aren't 10th anniversary, there's nothing like that, but I am really happy to have these instead of trashing the stock carpet. Joel already got this one off. Thankfully the camera guy's coming in really handy right now. Just look at this. Every time the car goes to lower back down, is that it catches on this little shelf right here that boom, slams up. But look at that, that's hilariously the wrong size spring. Probably the right spring rate or whatever. But no more of that. That's pretty damn clean. We got everything basically back on. We are finally at a point where this epoxy is actually holding enough. It's still curing 24, 25 hours later. This plate will go over all of that. So my question becomes, where do I mount this, which is the controller for that single pump? I probably am going to mount it somewhere back here. Have this line run across here, because even the stock system does it that way. The only thing we have to worry about is maybe I'll like double sheath it or something, so that way if you drop something on it hard, it doesn't cut the wire or short it out to this. What my current challenge is I want to run all the stock wires and the new power wires through a hole like this. And look at that. That is exactly what I wanted. This is DT connector, not DTM. Can hold like 12 or 13 amps per wire, which meets my requirements. And we can also have the wires feed through here, so this plate can be removed in case of servicing. But I want to make sure that whichever side I leave in the bottom is cleaner. This all came together quite nicely. This is the little grommet on there, and while I was going to originally put them all together, it's easier to service this, or at least just keep it separate from this shitty stock harness. But once we get this put in here, that goes into that. This keeps more fumes out of the car. Just a win-win situation. Finally, we are ready to test this. The guys have been busting their ass. Everybody's doing a great job. We can finally just simply test the rear wheels. Oh my god, this is gonna be hilarious if these were too long. It bottoms out right there. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. We have about a 1/4 inch too much, which is a wonderful problem to have. We'll take off 4 threads. We've got way too much thread. Even if I took off that much, we still have plenty to actually thread the whole thing. The entire lug nut will be filled with thread. While Isaiah was giving you that beautiful light show, I couldn't help it. I had to see how this looks. Thankfully, they all cut basically the same length, and I trimmed them that way. But they all thread fine. There's no mixed threads. There's no weirdness. Let's see just how low this goes. Okay, that was actually more impressive than I thought it would be.
It's pretty functional.
It is 4 in the morning, and all that matters is how amazing the wiring guy did on the wiring back there. It doesn't even look like it's done at all. That's actually wired, and so is the main tank. Both of them are wired, like wired.
Like if we put power to them,
like,
there'd be...
Yeah, like if they were wired, they're like wired right. Like, I'm kind of impressed with whoever did it. I had to match Isaiah's energy. That is minimalist.
I think this is the cleanest setup. The fittings, the horsepower capability, the sleekness.
The OEM-ness. Yeah, because we're talking probably 750, 800 capable at this point. We'll test it, but OEM tank, sending tons of fuel. This is like an actual SEMA type build.
This connector goes into this connector, you know. It's
I made that.
Just
I made
wiring
the
guy
wiring.
just kind of wired it in real nice. He just like that. Guy just tucks in there like that.
My goal is to maintain all the vapor barriers type stuff, so there's no smells coming up from that area.
And the goal was achieved because everything is OEM in here.
Let's look at this.
We literally never have to worry about this ever again. That is, I could sit back there right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, you could.
Pew pew, a little shooter.
What we're gonna do is get this to fit inside of here, and I want to have it where it's not just mounted to this flimsy plastic, but it's actually mounted to the tabs underneath that. Basically, so it's mounted to the dash subframe, so this can come out and it'll look good sitting centered in here. So there's all the cutouts for that. There's the 2 top holes, and then there's gonna be bottom holes here that are gonna mount to these 2 right here, but I'm gonna have to do a bend and a bend, so that's gonna change the total length. I don't know my bends well enough to know exactly how it's gonna go, so I'll just drill these after the fact. So I just loaded the code. Oh, it's such a baby tool. That sucks. When a tool on this machine is this short, it can't go over the range down. So this whole assembly right here can't go lower for safety reasons. So the tip of the tool can't go down further, even though it could. It can't. So I'm gonna have to find a different way of doing that. Let's see how this goes. God, I love CNC machines. Once it goes off the edge here, they could throw the piece. It will throw the piece, actually. We're done.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a little rough around some of the edges right there, but it like went back in and raised up. That's okay. It looks cool as shit. One of the coolest things Isaiah's taught me is just like using the right tool for the job. I was scared for a second because I was like, oh shit, I might have made it upside down. But it's supposed to sit just like this. That. I gave it plenty of room for the connectors because I didn't feel like playing that game. Look at those other 2 holes are ready to go. I think maybe that one's the only one I got kind of close to. But the USB cord's not that big. So now let's put it in the car. My dear friend Andrew, if you're watching this video, I didn't have to slot any of these. Measure twice and then cut once. Might have to do a little bit more trimming, but at least I can hang it onto those 2 holes. Almost perfect. Yeah, I have to solve this. I made it narrow on purpose, so that way you could slide it in here. But I might make it more narrow. I'm going to trim off these corners so I can slide this over that. Wow, it actually fit in. Let's see. So it doesn't get in the way. The only hard part is this is in front of that. This is pretty much the final install. I'll make this bracket more proper, but I'm pretty happy with it. It doesn't get in the way of the ashtray. It will hold against small vibrations, which was my biggest concern because this thing's measuring G-force. The plastic will kind of cushion some of the vibration, but everything else is held into place. Nice and smooth. Nothing's gonna come flying out.
I like it.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually changing my mind when it comes to all the wiring. I want minimalistic, but I want as effective as possible. I already made the main ground line, and so that comes from here, loops around, goes up and over to the rear iron. But this is going to be the main charge the battery and start the car. And so I think I am, because I don't want 3 wires all sitting up here, I think I am gonna run this straight to the starter, run daisy chain a starter to the alternator, and then actually this wire right here, run that down to the starter. Kind of my normal format for having the starter be a pinpoint, mostly aesthetically. We're gonna figure out this one to the starter. I'm gonna go ahead and lift the car up right now. The core of the car is gonna be nice and solid, minimal voltage drop, definitely not overheating the wires, all things that I very much find super important. This wire actually got really close without even attempting. I was originally gonna run it a different way. I do like this, so I might shorten it about 1 inch and then bend the connector. I'm pretty sure it's this one. I'm gonna really seal this one because it's gonna be under the car. This is super gratifying because it is actually adhesive inside of this heat shrink, so this will not bend at all. The baby sides are for the lithium battery right there, little 1/4 inch eyelets. I was gonna hook it up to the battery because I don't think of this as a battery. I think it was like a dummy thing. It is far from dummy. I just love having overly done mastered out because you never have to think about it. Go something like this. Get them both looking nice and even. This one goes onto the top of the block. It's a little 350 cubic feet per minute fan. Little baby. So the reason for this is this. Oil comes in through over here and comes out here. So I think I'm gonna put it on this side just so that way we have a fan relay. It fits between the two. Maybe we'll put 5 of them. In place of having more oil coolers, we'll actually have a fan right in there, somewhere in here. And yeah, it'll move some air with the car sitting still. I'm curious to see how well the stock oil cooler works. Well, I've been working on getting this first fan little relay all set up right here. I'll remount this somewhere else. The rest of this just has to go to power. The little yellow line is just signal from the ECU, so that'll get sheathed at some point, continuing on back to the car. But everything else is all self-contained. Super happy with this one. Honestly, you can put this car through a car wash. It's all a sealed thing. I'll probably turn it upside down or something. But while I'm doing all that, Isaiah is doing all of this.
And this is an emotional journey. And we are just gonna give this thing a little zizap. We got Chris here, so it's loud in the background. That thing's not going anywhere.
Let me try it.
That's straight pipe, I think. I feel like every time I hard mount it to the car, those are always my best exhaust. The one thing I want to point out is that we are still using the Rotary formula. It's a 1 resonator per rotor. This one has 2 rotors, so this one has 2 resonators. 3 rotor has 3 rotors, has 3 resonators. C5 has no resonators, that's why it sounds like shit. These things are probably blown out, but I mean, technically this has 4. But one thing about this exhaust is that this thing hangs lower than my nuts, honestly. Look at how this far down the exhaust would be. It's like a 3.5-inch drop it would be.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
I thought you were going off of this, which is dumb, but realistically you are going basically off of that.
It's this, so it's literally that close. I must take these off. Now we're okay. It sucks because this was the badass Apexia exhaust, but they put these resonators in here and this muffler shop doesn't know what straight is apparently. And
it is all twisted.
It should be fine for a while, but maybe one day Rob wants a better exhaust and I'll finish, what I started here. Not titanium, but it's all right. It's all right. I'll say a good 20-25 pounds.
So Isaiah wants to weigh this. Say 18.7. That's my guess. 18.7 pounds.
16?
Yeah, 15.8 pounds.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Sick. That's with the resonator too. I thought the resonators, wow.
Yeah.
I'm really that weak then. That feels heavy to me.
So he's stuck using other company, not SpeedFlow's piece, because it's a Saturday and it's after hours and everything, and it's just not as nice as the SpeedFlow stuff. I just want to point that out.
I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna try to show you guys. It's gonna be hard now that's in the car. I'm gonna use my hand for reference. This is the SpeedFlow fitting. You see that nice, tight, actual flowing 180-16. This is the other ones. Look how much longer. Look how much skinnier. Look how much a longer radius this is than it actually has to be. This stuff is really life-changing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think I would ever use another fitting company ever again.
As I say, you are spoiled now. SpeedFlow spoiled you.
Yeah, SpeedFlow. I love you guys. Yeah, I gave it the twist and jerk motion. You see that? I learned this from Homegirl. I feel like I'm slow dancing.
That's what I was thinking too.
The feet right here that you see belong to Tanner. He's already right at it. The rear suspension's weird. It is really weird to me, but he's already like monkeying with it. So I guess we're gonna have to put tires back on and to help align it. Not so secretly worried about it.
Everything looks like it's solid. I'm hoping everything's nice and tight. We just touch it up and it should be fucking perfect.
I'm gonna let him try so I can show Rob what I get paid.
Isaiah, can you work on aligning?
Yeah, here, go ahead and clean up. You got
That guy right there.
Alright, cool. Fucking head like an oval or something?
Or not that head.
Yeah, my dude. Nah, I'm good to bluffs.
I call it job security right here.
Oh boy.
No, he's not. That is pretty good.
That was a little wiggly. Damn, is this supposed to be that color?
Yeah, do whatever color you want. This is the rainbow over here. This is you, not bad. You know, you're not the best looking guy ever, but you have good personality and you work. And this is the guy she tells you not to worry about. Everything. Look good. Good personality, penetrates you pretty deep. You know, that's everything she wants in a man. And you're just not it. You're not that guy, pal. I got a question for you. Car versus car on the track. FC or RX-8? This car versus that car.
If it works properly, that shit's easy as fuck.
Yeah. So RX-8, right?
Like full speed all the time. This car, you're gonna like need some
I'm
talent
not
to do
asking all
full
that.
speed.
Just RX-8 or FC. That's
Do you want to look cool or do you just want to do it?
the RX-8 or FC. RX-8, right?
I said it.
Well, yep. Isaiah's gonna take care of you. You can leave.
God damn it.
We got this fed through the firewall, and I am so happy because we get to get rid of these weird old hood pins. So check this out. I pushed this through and it kind of knocked that off right there. But this, get a little B-boop like that. Pull that over. Got this pushed up like that. And reinstall. And so now we can finally close the hood all the way, not have to worry about the hood pins, not have to worry about anything. Oh, this is so much better. Okay, That's easy. I can lock that, but let's see if it'll open back up. There we go.
Badass.
Oh yeah, there we go. It's an OEM car now. We need to know how much it weighs right now. We got the whole little clean set. This is long before it gets destroyed by us messing with it. Right rear, left rear. I figured this is perfect. Do we have any ideas how much we think this thing's gonna weigh?
I'm gonna say 26, 20.
I'm gonna guess 28.5.
What do you think?
Well, you don't have the seats in there. Dude, this is tough. I was gonna say like 27, that was my original guess, but with no seats in there, 26.75.
Tanner's locked in 26. And then
I'm
Joel, what do you got?
locked in 26.
20.
26.50.
Okay, so you only have 50 to 75. Okay, so we're all zeroed out right now? It's working. What? What the hell?
Oh, whoa.
22.
Jeez, way off.
Check this out, guys. Come over from this side and you'll see how clean I've now gotten the core of this car. This is all just very flat, very low. I haven't even zip tied them in. But the idea is that if somebody was to take the intake manifold out and drop it, it will not have stuff like this sitting up like that. So this whole thing, it's meant to sit very low and kind of hold itself into place. So I'm really happy with how the core grounds turned out. Injectors, even though this harness wasn't meant for a two-rotor, it's certainly working very well. So really the only things I have left is the throttle body and intake temperatures and all the turbo stuff. But watch this over here. Worked really hard last night on getting this whole harness done. It's so subtle, so small. You almost forget that it's all the ignition. Rotor 1 trailing, rotor 2 leading, rotor 1 leading, rotor 2 trailing. All of those can now go in and plug in under all those. And that's the whole ignition system. This is a major moment. The core wiring is all like in place. This is the stock harness. Doesn't mean anything. You can always plug one side of anything into this. Look at it. Never gonna do anything because it's not completing a circuit. So once you put both of them in, there we go.
Your wipers are on.
That's sick. So that's a major success that the battery didn't nuke out, things didn't not work. Because this is my ground, this isn't the car's ground. Now we have the main power line. This will power all of my stuff. FC stuff, all separate. The interior, all of its things, all on its own thing. This goes to the starter, this goes to all of my electronics, and this goes to the alternator. This one's like all the good stuff we know, and then this is separates all of the weird stuff that could have been short-circuited or God knows what. Thankfully, these all go basically to fuse box. Not too worried about the risk, but I guess it shouldn't do anything at the moment. Yeah, the key unplugged basically, so the ECU doesn't know to turn on, doesn't know to fire up anything. Safety feature right there. Okay, this is a good sign. It knows the doors are open. Putting the key in, turning that on. It's got some beeping. We're gonna check. Okay, now we're gonna turn the car on. That's working. That's working. All these are working. Interior lights working.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, the car thinks it's trying to start and it's pissed now. That's a pretty common thing. We'll go ahead and turn that back. Go ahead and walk around the car. Let's see if all the lights are all flashing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good.
Car overall is passing the system checks. Locks are working. Everything's really good there. Isaiah and I are, on the edge of lunacy, more than normal.
Mental breakdown.
Insanity. And so while I'm working on his car, he's working on my car, and we're having a dick measuring contest over who slept less, and it's him. He won. My watch does this shit. I'm not endorsing anything, but like you can tell my heart rate.
This random Rolex.
I stole it off the dead dude outside. but it's sick because it shows that I was like dead between 6 and 7. But hey, my heart rate's really low, so I got that going for me. But I only slept for 3 hours.
Besides that, we got the
I forgot about
mounted. I welded this little plate. Rob wanted to do a bunch of machining or whatever. I just said F it, and then got these 2 bolts threaded in here. Looks very OEM. Besides that badass weld. This guy, since we didn't get this, and we went to Mazda Tricks like 3 times this week, but nobody thought of a upper manifold gasket. But it's all good. We're here.
I got a lot of comments from you guys in the comments, and I wanted to try this, or at least try something close to it. Kind of using this as a live center instead of just holding it. This tap is huge. It will not hold inside of this 1/2 inch drill arbor, whatever you call it. So we're gonna use a little baby guy like this. I don't have a center tap or a center thing, but at least this can kind of hold it in place while we do sketchiness. It's way better than the alternative. Yeah, the threads turned out really good. 3/8 tap. Still got all this material on there. Maybe we'll hit it with some PTFE. And that's gonna sit well in there. Man, I don't know if PTFE is required.
Vroom, vroom.
Thoughts?
Thoughts are tired.
Yeah.
I don't have the mental capacity to give you my full emotion right now, unfortunately.
What time is it?
Yeah.
3:02.
Driver's meeting is at 7. That car hasn't started. This car's
Never
now
started.
Gutted. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't. I am exhausted though.